Hello, my name is David Kenna and I'm the procurement lead for the UK delivery team, and I will be presenting to you some detail on the procurement process we're running for this next round of procurement activity, including what would be expected of you should you express an interest in our process. For those of you that have not attended any previous roadshows or participated in any of our previous or current procurement opportunities, we do understand that these processes may be unfamiliar to you. So we will try to explain at each stage in as much detail as possible in terms of what is expected of you and how you participate. We're going to go into detail on the procurement processes we intend to run and our proposed contracting strategy. And this is really important as you will have limited time to submit documents and responses to us. So this is an opportunity for you to gain an early understanding of our requirements. For those of you that have attended previous roadshows, some of this material may be familiar to you. However, please ensure you pay attention to understand exactly what we require and how we intend to contract with the successful tenderer for this process. We will also cover the Procurement Program in this roadshow, setting out what we will require from you and when. So first of all, I think it's really important to set out the guiding principles that govern our procurement processes and the way we interact with the market and the supply chain. And they are transparency, openness and fairness. And they require us to run procurements that enable all available companies who are interested in participating to have an equal chance of being successful. They are aimed at maximising competition to ensure that the end result provides the client with the most economically advantageous offer from the organisation best suited to undertake the works. It's important to note that the most economically advantageous offer is not necessarily the offer with the lowest price. It is a mixture of technical and commercial scoring, as the lowest price does not always provide the client with the best value offer. Only those companies that can best demonstrate both previous experience and capacity to undertake the work, combined with their commercial submission, will score well in this process. And you'll notice that the theme of transparency and openness and fairness runs through all our processes and is at the core of what we are trying to achieve. And adhering to these themes should provide you with the confidence that your offers will be treated fairly, and that if you can demonstrate that you are best suited to undertake the works, then you will be scored and marked accordingly. Next slide. So with respect to our contracting strategy, we considered various contract forms in our decision-making process, and as many of you will probably be already aware, we decided that the best form of contract to use would be the new engineering contract, or NEC. A key aspect of the NEC form of contract is that it offers flexibility of approach and is collaborative in nature. And this flexibility and nature of collaboration aligns perfectly with the principles I set out on the previous slide in terms of transparency, openness, and ability to engage in a collaborative way with our chosen delivery partners. The NEC suite of contracts come with various options that can be utilised, ranging from traditional fixed price arrangements to cost reimbursable style approaches. The NEC option that we are using for these procurements is the Professional Services Contract Option A. And we are using the Professional Services contract as the nature of works we are procuring are services, therefore an engineering and construction contract would not be suitable. The Option A contract is essentially a fixed price contract. It comes with an activity schedule which you are required to price at time of tender, and the activity schedule is based on the scope information we provide to you with the invitation to tender. Payment is then made upon successful completion of each activity within the activity schedule. And the advantage of using the activity schedule as the basis for payment is that it largely simplifies the administration of the interim payment process. The activity schedule also has a significant impact on the contractor's cash flow as you get paid on completion of each activity. It's important for you to note that following feedback from other procurement processes, we have updated certain contractual requirements. So please ensure you are involved in this process so you can then review what changes have been made. Next slide. So I don't want to spend too much time on this slide, as these packages will be explained to you in more detail in another part of the roadshow. However, it is important that you understand our packaging strategy. And you will see here that we are proposing 4 packages in total. And there were various factors that fed into our decision to package the works in this way, including geography, size of the package, logistical possibilities and attractiveness to the market. including attractiveness for local and small and medium-sized companies. In a similar way to how we've procured previous packages of work, these projects will be the subject of 2 pre-qualification documents, one for city drainage packages and one for the river defence packages of work, with then 4 invitations to tender being issued, 1 for each package. They will also be contracted individually, so we will have 4 contracts in total at the end of this procurement process. You will need to select which packages of work you are interested in tendering for at PQQ stage, which we will cover later. However, it's important that you understand that the city drainage packages and the river defence packages will be the subject of a win one only rule. So you can choose to become involved in all 4 packages of work, but you can only win 1 city drainage package and 1 river defence package. And in the event that you are top scorers in more than 1 package in either city drainage or river defence, you will be awarded the package in which you scored highest. And then the other package will then be awarded to the second place tenderer. Next slide. So the procurement process we intend to run will be undertaken in 3 main stages. They are the mandatory undertaking, or MU stage, a pre-qualification stage, which includes a pre-qualification questionnaire, or PQQ, and an invitation to tender stage, or ITT. So I'll explain in more detail what is required at each of these stages later. However, this graphic illustrates how we move from a long list of interested suppliers to one supplier who has won the competition has been awarded the contract. So firstly, following the presentation today, in addition to those companies that have already registered with us following previous roadshows, if you wish to be considered for this opportunity, you must first submit your details on the ARCC website. You will also be asked to provide some simple details in order to confirm that your organisation has the capacity and ability to undertake the works you are expressing an interest in. And this avoids including any companies in our process that are not suitable to be involved. The number of companies who can register at this stage remains unlimited. Following receipt of the long list of companies, your details will be registered on our Procurement Portal Award, and you will then receive an email notification when the MU is ready for download. And the intention of the mandatory undertaking is to ensure that only those companies who receive the PQQ have the necessary turnover requirements and are able to sign the mandatory undertaking declaration, which includes, amongst others, anti-bribery, collusion, conflict of interest and confidentiality declarations. We will then review the MU submissions to ensure that they have been adequately completed and that all requirements have been satisfied. And the number of companies eligible to pass through to PQQ stage, again at this stage, remains unlimited. The pre-qualification questionnaire, or PQQ, will then be released to all those companies that have passed the MU stage. And the intention of the PQQ is to reduce the unlimited long list to MU down to a short list of companies who will be invited to tender. Following the submission of the PQQ and our internal evaluation process, you will be notified whether your submission has gained the necessary score to have made it onto the shortlist. And the shortlist is made up of the top scoring number of applicants who submitted a PQQ. So for example, if we intend to have a shortlist of 7, then the 7 top scoring applicants will be invited to tender. And everyone will receive a notification whether you have made the shortlist or not. The third stage is then the invitation to tender stage, or ITT. And those companies that have made the shortlist will be issued with an invitation to submit a tender, which will consist of the submission of various documents, a technical response and a commercial response. And then a tenderer who attains the highest score will be eligible to be awarded the contract. So this process therefore allows us to proceed from an unlimited long list to a short list to one eventual winner. Next slide. So, going into more detail on each stage, as I mentioned previously, after expressing your interest on our website and subject to your suitability, we will enter your details onto our Procurement Portal Award, and you will receive an email notification sent to the email address you provided on our website with your login details. You will first be asked to confirm login details and change your password, and then once registered, and once the MU is available, you will be notified again to the email address provided that the MU is now available for download. If you've already previously registered with us, you may also receive revised login details. If not, you will just receive a notification once the MU has gone live. So the MU stage is the simplest and easiest stage to participate in. All you're required to do for these packages of work is to select the packages you are interested in tendering for, confirm your turnover meets the required threshold, and sign and return the documents. No other documentation is required at this stage. Please be aware, however, that you will be required at PQQ stage to submit your financial accounts that demonstrate that what you stated at MU stage is accurate. If your accounts do not substantiate your turnover declaration made at MU stage, then this will represent a failure score at PQQ stage and you will be disqualified from the process. One important consideration, and one we receive a lot of questions on, is the formation of consortiums and at what stage these have to be notified to us. So we don't require you at the time of the MU submission to set out your proposed consortium. This information is required with your PQQ response, which I'll come on to shortly. The only rule we apply here is that only those companies that submitted an MU response will become eligible at PQQ stage to be included in a consortium. So it's vital that all those companies, whether they intend to participate in a consortium or not, who wish to be included in the PQQ stage, submit an MU response. However, if you do wish to submit your MU as a consortium, you can do this too. However, if we receive one MU response on behalf of the whole consortium signed by all members, which it would need to be, then that consortium cannot be changed when you submit your PQQ. So if you're unsure of what companies will comprise your consortium at this stage, it's better to submit an individual MU response to preserve your options of how you intend to form your consortium at PQQ stage. Next slide. So moving on to the PQQ stage, all those submissions that pass the MU stage will receive a PQQ. And the questions at PQQ are essentially designed to test your capacity and ability to be able to undertake the works you wish to be invited to tender for. They are normally backwards facing, by which I mean now looking back at your history to understand how you have undertaken similar work in the past and what your current governance and policy and procedures are like. I'll explain in more detail the types of questions asked on the following slide. So as mentioned previously, the questions will also require you to confirm your turnover threshold, and this question is designed to ensure that only those companies of sufficient size and capacity are admitted through to the next stage. However, if you are a smaller company who does not meet these threshold requirements, you are not necessarily excluded. You do have the option of forming a consortium with other companies where the combined turnover of all companies in that consortium will be taken into consideration. I'd like to point out some key documents that you will be required to submit at PQQ stage, which given the short timescales you're required to submit them in, you may want to start thinking about compiling now if you intend to register your interest. There are requirements to submit your last 3 years audited accounts, and these are required, as I mentioned, to substantiate your statement regarding the level of your company turnover over the last 3 years. You may also be asked to submit policy and procedure documents such as your environmental policy, quality management policy, and your health and safety certification and policy. As I mentioned previously, you can select as many packages as you wish, but this will be subject to you meeting certain turnover threshold requirements. And these rules are set out in the MU documentation, which will be issued to you. Next slide. So this slide sets out in general the questions that we will be asking you at the PQQ stage, and they broadly fall into 4 categories: qualification, pass-fail, governance, and case studies. And I'll go through each category with you in more detail now. The actual questions we will be asking may vary slightly from this slide, but this gives you an indication of the type of questions that we will be asking. So the qualifications section is a section that you complete to sign and return the PQQ declaration and a compulsory undertaking and confidentiality undertaking. Although it sits outside the pass-fail section, failure to sign and submit these documents here with your PQQ response may result in your disqualification from the process. Section B mainly contains pass-fail questions, although questions B1 to B18 is submitted purely for information only. Contains questions such as your company details, contact details, and address of parent company. This section is not scored. B19 then asks you to select which packages you wish to be invited to tender for, and as I mentioned previously, you can select one or both packages in each city drainage or river defence PQQ, depending on your eligibility, but you will only be permitted to be awarded one of them. Questions B20 to B23 then request financial details, including net asset values. B24 requests that you self-certify that you hold or will hold the required levels of insurance we will need you to have in place in the event that you win the procurement process. Note that the insurance level stated are not required to be in place prior to contract award, and we just need you to confirm that in the event that you are successful, you will be able to have the required insurances in place. B27 through to B32 then asks you various questions regarding company policies and procedures. Note that all questions covered in B20 to B32 are pass-fail. If you fail any of them, we will not proceed to evaluate your responses to Section C. It's really important, therefore, that you read the questions carefully, and if you have any queries, please raise them appropriately to us through the award portal. Section C is then split into two sections. Firstly, C1 to C4 asks you to respond to questions regarding your internal governance procedures, your management and organisation, what staffing strategies you have in place, supply chain policies and procedures, and your ethical processes. Then finally, we ask you to submit case studies where you have undertaken previous work to that which you are tendering for. Each element in Section C is weighted, with the total weighting adding up to 100%. And we've not included the weightings here, but ordinarily the majority of the weightings will be on the case studies. Typically 60 to 75% is allocated to case studies, with the remainder then being spread over questions C1 to C4. Next slide. So this slide explains the invitation to tender stage. If you are down selected and make the shortlist at PQQ stage, you will be notified through award and will then receive the invitation to tender also through award. Whereas with the PQQ stage, the questions are backward facing, at ITT stage, the questions are forward facing and are designed to test how you would approach the delivery of the project in question. The other main difference in style between the questions at PQQ stage and ITT stage is that at ITT stage there is also a commercial submission which represents your commercial offer to us. Under the NEC option A, we will require you to complete the pricing schedule we issue with the ITT and also the activity schedule which I mentioned previously. Key questions will be around your proposed programme of works, your proposed project execution plans and how you will manage the process. Typically, and in line with our requirement to award the contract to the tenderer who has submitted the most economically advantageous tender, the scoring would be weighted in favour of the technical section, normally a 70-30 technical commercial split. This ensures that the lowest price does not automatically win the competition, but that the contract is awarded to the tenderer who represents best value. The commercial score is then added to the technical score to arrive at an overall score out of 100%. And the highest scoring tenderer then becomes eligible to be awarded the contract, subject to the win-one-only rule as I previously set out. Next slide. So what does all that look like in terms of the procurement programme we're working to? Well, 2 MUs are planned to be launched on Monday next week, one for city drainage and one for river defence. This will then be followed by the release of the 2 PQQs in July and then the 4 ITTs in August. You have 3 weeks to complete the return of your PQQ submission and 6 weeks to complete and return your ITT submission. I appreciate that there's been a lot of information presented to you today on this process, and we're not expecting you to have committed it all to memory. As I said at the start, we're operating an open and collaborative process. Once the MU gets issued, we will be holding a series of applicant briefings whereby we will be setting out in detail your MU, PQQ and ITT submission requirements and some key tips for completing your submission. We will also be holding similar sessions during the PQQ and ITT processes if you progress to that stage. We also have a messaging facility through our Procurement Portal Award, which allows you, subject to being involved at each stage, to raise questions that come directly to us on any aspect of the process that we're running, or with respect to the content of any of the written documentation we have issued to you at MU, PQQ or ITT stage. At ITT stage, we also hold one-to-one confidential interactive sessions with each of the shortlisted tenderers, during which, if you are shortlisted for this stage, you'll be able to speak to us on a one-to-one basis, again, on any aspect of the procurement process we're running. You will also be able to raise scope and contractual queries if you have them at this stage. Finally, on the programme, it's important to note if you're successful in the process, you will have 2 weeks from the point of being informed that you have been successful to executing the contract. You will therefore need to ensure that you have all paperwork and contract signatories aligned in order to meet this deadline. Next slide. So finally, and thank you for bearing with me, I hope the message has come across clear enough that at each stage of our process we intend to run an open and transparent process. We want to constantly engage with you to ensure that you are provided with the most up-to-date information at all times. This is undertaken through the messaging facility through award, applicant and tenderer briefings where possible, and also providing you with the option of detailed feedback on your submissions if you are unsuccessful. This provides you with valuable feedback on areas for improvement with a view to increasing your chances on these and future procurements of being successful. If you're interested in these opportunities, as I mentioned previously, please register your interest in the first instance on the ARCC website. You will then be issued with an MU documentation, at which point you will be able to raise any questions that you may have with us through the award portal. We will obviously review all questions as they come in and aim to respond to you as quickly as possible. We also want to encourage companies, if you think you don't have sufficient experience, to form consortia with other companies to deliver our projects. Once the MUs are launched, we will open a matchmaking portal on the ARCC website to encourage companies to come together where they can complement each other's skill sets with a view to joining forces and forming a consortium. And this detail will be included in the MU documentation. If you have any issues with award, we will upload user guides in both Spanish and English, so please read through those in the first instance. If your problem persists, then either raise a clarification through award, or if you're having trouble logging into award, contact details are set out on the login page. I hope this has been helpful and will assist you in submitting high quality proposals to us. Thank you very much for your attention, and please remember that we are here to help you at each stage of the process. And good luck with your submissions. Thank you.